Alright guys, we got a couple here I get questions about, and I see a lot of questions of guys running into this and they don't know how to fix it. So what this is a big hydraulic cylinder for a walking floor. I do a bunch of these for this same customer. These are the factory welds. They're just a MIG weld. From factory, this butt plate just butts up to the barrel, and there's not a big gap here. There's maybe like a 3/8 bevel on this only when they weld this, and they just MIG weld it. And then as you can see with the, if they run into anything or it catches into anything on the floor, it pops that weld. So I don't know if you can see that, but this one's pretty good through the paint, but it just pops the weld. They leak all over the place, and then they're kind of SOL. But this company, I've got a couple spares for them, so they just swap them out. They bring me these, and then I fix them. I haven't had any break in any of the ones that I do this way after I fix them. So what I do is, if they're small enough, I'll actually chuck this into my lathe. I'll machine this out all the way down to where I get to the bevel of the barrel and the original seam, and then I go even further. I put a nice bevel on this. I TIG weld it, okay, with 309 stainless. That's important. Then you go in and you weld it up. Now you can do 7018, you can do MIG, hardwire, 70S6. You can do a lot of things, but the key component is the stainless TIG weld. You stainless TIG that root, a good heavy pass with 309, and you weld this out. It'll probably take maybe 3 passes after you TIG it to get that filled up properly, and you won't ever have a problem with this cylinder ever again. Okay, now this one is a little big for mine, for my lathe, and it's going to be a little faster for me just to arc gouge this off with some carbon arc. Gouge all the way around. You don't just gouge just the crack. You go all the way around and do this properly, because if you don't, it will break again. Okay, and then we got this one here. This is off of a grapple, off of a piece of logging equipment. So what happened is this piston is threaded. The rod has a tail that's threaded, and they caught it on something and overextended the grapple backwards this way, opening it, and then probably pushed down on it, and it just pulled the thread straight off the piston or off the rod. But we don't know, because they just cooped it up. They're in the woods, so I can't blame them. You got to do what you got to do to get back up and running, and this got them up and running. But now it's the off season, and I get to fix it. So it's just metal, as they say. We'll gouge all this off just to where we can get back to the piston. I'm going to try to salvage this piston, and so we'll gouge all this off. This rod is junk, so I don't know if you can see, they've ground on it, trying to smooth it out several times. So it's got some pretty good wear on it. So the rod's junk. So we're trying to salvage this if we can. If we can't, we'll just machine a new one. They're not hard to do. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to recess this piston. We'll thread the rod, and then we'll put a nut, a nylon nut, and it'll only extend out the same as this rod ever did. So we're not going too far out. You'll have the same function of the grapple, but this will be stronger with that nut on it and easier to service. And then if this happens again, we can easily just put a new tail on the rod, or if the rod's too damaged, we can make a new rod, reuse this piston, no big deal. And they're going to get a spare made as well from me. And so what we're going to do is we're going to chuck this in the bandsaw. All or actually this is going to be stuck in the mill, or in the lathe, sorry. And then we're going to machine this down to where we got about 1/4 of an inch tail here. We'll cut that off, and then when we make the new rod, we'll center drill it to fit that pin, pop it on with the bevel, and then we'll weld it out, and that way it's perfectly centered. So we'll save that eye, we'll save the piston, save this customer a lot of money. Unfortunately, this is on a Doosan, and these rods are no longer available from the factory, so they kind of have no choice. But they did say they found a used one back east, and it was, I think they said for the cylinder assembly it was $5,000 or $6,000. So they're quite pricey, and you know, if you can salvage this stuff, you can save your customer a lot of money and get a lot of work out of them. So that's what we try to do. So I'll bring you back once these are gouged and removed, and we'll see what we got. Alright, so we got it all gouged out. So this is about how far I gouge them out. You know, I like to go pretty deep. And like I said, after I do this, I never have any issues with them. You know, we gouge the whole thing out, all the way around. You know, if you make a little hole like that, no big deal. Fill that up with TIG. Make sure you cap your port so you don't get any debris in there or melt any of your threads. Then you're going to have to remove this, put a new one on, and you're just creating yourself more work. You don't need to. This guy kind of came right off. Did not realize though that they had welded the back of this. I didn't see that, didn't inspect it very good, but they had put a little weld right there to hold it on. So we'll just machine that off. It's not a big deal. Take it off real quick. Drop my nose. I'll show you exactly what happens to these. So that's what happened. They pulled the threads right off of it, off the tail here. You know, and then it's machined here to fit into here. So this one will actually be a fairly easy one to fix. If this rod wasn't damaged, I could fix this. You know, what I would do is I'd machine this down to accept a thread, and then just machine this back out to accept a nut into the back here, and then, you know, clean it all up, and we'd send it. But this one needs a new rod anyhow, so no big deal. But yeah, we'll definitely be able to salvage this. We'll just take a skim cut off the back of this, clean this up, and then all this in the center's got to come out anyway where the thread is. You can see that's got to come out to where we can put a big nut on there, and then we'll clean the face up, no big deal. So that'll clean up just fine. Crisis averted. So I'll bring you back once we TIG weld this out, and you'll kind of see the steps. I'll show you. I don't have a stand, so you can't really, you know, watch me do it, but you know, we just TIG weld this out. A couple passes, TIG weld 309 stainless, and then we'll probably throw a dual shield on it. I've got the ESOB in there set up with dual shield. It'll make it just really quick and easy, and we'll get it back to the customer. Alright, so this is that cylinder I gouged out. This is it TIGged up, 309 stainless, and we just run it. This is 2 passes in here. Just kind of filled it up. Not pretty, but you know, it will do the trick. So what you want is you want a good fill, good root. and then one fill pass in there, you know, depending on the size of the cylinder. These bigger ones, I usually run 1 or 2 fill passes. This one I was able to fill it up pretty good with one. And then I think what I'm going to do on this one is just some 70S6, because I got the machine right here. I got the dual shield up over there, but it's set up for something else right now. So we're just going to 70S6. We'll probably run 2 passes, you know, side by side in here, and probably 2 fills and 2 caps probably to get this all the way back up. And then we'll put new seals on it. We got the rod here. Throw some seals on it, and then we'll slap it back together and throw some paint on it. Send it. Pretty easy job once you do 1 or 2 of them, you know. You just got to make sure you get it all the way down to your original, you know, seam there, and then just gouge it out so you got some more meat on these. That's the issue, is they don't gouge these out or groove them up enough to where you could get enough material to hold these things together, you know, and they just you know, you get a little bit of a shock to them, and these butt caps just pop right off. We do quite a bit of these, a lot of them on forklifts, tilt cylinders, you know, a lot on these industrial cylinders like this that are in the plants and stuff. A lot of trash compactors, stuff like that. They all have that shock load. So don't be afraid of them, but do keep in mind, if you got a crack coming this way, the barrel is junk. Do not try to weld that, because it will warp and it will create a pinch point inside, and the piston will bind in there, and you'll cause damage to their machine. So don't be afraid to tell these people no. You know, if you get a crack going up into the barrel, you know, if it's just a little one and you can stop it right here, okay, but you know, if it goes up into the barrel, you know, that's cause for a new barrel. You know, and you know, if you're doing any type of these, you know, cylinders, get in good with a local machine shop that can do these. If you can't do them yourself, we do a lot of them in-house here, but if you can't do them, find a good machine shop that can do these for you. You know, build new barrels, and don't be afraid of it. You know, there's a lot of money to be had, but you know, you gotta, you know, if you're gonna do this kind of work, you know, you want to be able to take care of your customers. So yeah, pretty simple. I'll bring you back when we get it welded up. So this is it, final product. You know, I just run 70S6 pretty hot on it, and just filled it up. Yeah, I got this. You just roll it out, weld it up. So it took, let's see, two fill passes and 2 caps. Filled it back up, and then all you do is paint it, let it cool, paint it, and then reseal the piston and the gland and put it back together. It's pretty simple, guys. Don't overthink it. Good welding, good prep, and it'll last forever.